Been looking forward to this discussion with Stephanie Shannon. Stephanie is joining us by phone on our program. She is the author of a publication entitled Battling the Storm Within. We'll get into talking about that. First of all, it's nice to have you join us on our program.
Thank you.
And good morning to you.
Good morning to you, too.
In your background, you served in the U.S. Army as a sergeant, non-commissioned officer for 8 years. You're Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Persian Gulf War vet. You earned a number of medals as well in the course of your service to this country. You have a great story to share with us in this discussion today. And there's a couple of different reasons why I want to get into talking about this. But I'm going to begin as simply as I possibly can, because I always like to do a little bit of background for folks listening to us. Entering the military, when you did, what was your motivation? Why did you do it?
Well, actually, I joined the military because I was excited about the possibility of adventure, traveling the world. You know, they sell those, commercials there, be all you can be, kind of thing. And I'm like, oh, wow, really? I can be? And they offered great college benefits. So I joined with that in mind, anticipating some type of adventure, being challenged in life because I was fit. I played just about every sport and only had 6% body fat, so I wasn't really concerned about that. So, yeah, that's why I originally joined the military.
6% body fat, huh?
Yes. I was a lean, mean fight machine.
That experience when you first joined, and chronologically, when was that?
That was in 1989, November.
Okay, 1989. Take us back at that time. What was it like when you first joined?
When I first joined, it's not a lot of women involved. I went to basic training, and it was kind of tough. It was more emotionally and mentally challenging. The different things they had us doing, very weird, I would say, or abnormal activities. The average civilian wouldn't even understand. You're out all day long. You're up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and then you don't go to bed till midnight, and you have a few hours of sleep. I didn't know I could function on like 2 hours of sleep. And you did a lot of strenuous activities, a lot of challenges. Basic training was one of the toughest trainings I've ever been through, and it transforms you. They basically designed it to break down the civilian mindset and make you into the soldier. They basically, they tell you, I had an associate's degree in fashion merchandising. I was still girly, but they took all that away from me with no makeup. No, you basically show up and you do what they tell you to do, dress how they tell you to do. So you have to be real subservient, really submit to authority. So my life was in the hands of my leaders, and that was a big adjustment for me. So after basic, I had a tough time in basic because I experienced, and I'm sharing with this now, I saw military sexual trauma in basic training. There were some young ladies, I don't know how, she got pregnant during our time of training, and we weren't allowed any males. So there were some issues where the drill sergeants were impregnating their female soldiers. Mm. And I had some sexual harassment problems. We were in the field training and whatnot, and they would spread rumors around that they were going to, quote unquote, get some from someone in particular. And I let them know, if you touch me, you're going to draw back and up. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what my mindset was. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting if they accepted women to have a level of respect and appreciation for that. But it kind of started there. I saw that shock in the military culture, especially being male-dominated. Then I went on to AIT. AIT is training for a job specification, and I was an 88 Mike truck driver. And my basic training was in Fort Dix, New Jersey. No longer have that base open anymore. And that was pretty tough. I had a drill sergeant I called Freddy Krueger, and he used to torture us, literally. It was crazy. I'd never met anybody like that in my life. He was like, in my dreams, I just couldn't get away from him. But he was tough, and he told me that, he looked at me, and it didn't shock me until later. He said, some of you think you're going to never serve in a war. And that's kind of what you think, because I went first into the Air Force for 4 years, and then the recruiter didn't tell me all the truth, so I shifted into Army Reserve Unit. Actually, even changed my MOS, because I just thought, I want to be a truck driver. I just want to travel. I had a really casual approach about it. I didn't really realize how serious the commitment I made. Kind of young, 20 years old, thinking, my life is ahead of me.
Mm-hmm.
He looked at me in my face and he told me, he said, some of you are going to actually go to war. And I was like, oh, come on. When's the last time there's been a war of conflict? 1990, and it happened to me. I was released and I was sent back to my reserve unit. And 5 months later, we were activated and I was over in Desert Storm in Saudi Arabia.
And what was that like?
That was something else. That culture, that Arabic culture, they treat women like third-class citizens. And we weren't allowed to express any religious beliefs. If we had any other faith besides Islam, we couldn't, if it was Christian or anything, we couldn't discuss it. We couldn't have our Bibles out or anything like that. It was really a culture shock. They pray 5 times a day. It was really something different. It was very difficult over there, too. I wasn't expecting. I really had a short, I would say, experience in understanding how the military culture. So it was very difficult work. I drove 14-ton tractor trailers, hauled Patriot missiles, water, and I was only like 125 pounds. So, it was a hard job. What I did enjoy about it is that you saw United Nations, all these other, forces, and British and all different types of forces together. That was really interesting. But Desert Storm shortly started. It didn't last too long of a war because it was more of a technology type of war. That's the first one where they used a lot of technology and whatnot. So it's a pretty swift war, but it was very difficult. The work was hard, and we would be on the road for 3 to 4 times a day. There was no showers, very primitive conditions. We had to hand wash our clothes. Everything was it was a culture shock. We didn't have beds. We slept on cots. And so it was no luxuries at all. The things, running water, things we take for granted, just being able to drive where you wanted to drive and go where you wanted to go, was all gone. So, yeah, that was something, it was surreal. I couldn't believe I was there. It was like shocking. And while I was over there, I experienced military sexual trauma. Military sexual trauma is defined by the VA as, sexual harassment, unwanted attention, sexual assault, rape. And it was happening over there. I had 2 friends. I had one friend in particular that was raped. One was sexually assaulted, and I was sexually harassed. It was horrible. And it was by my leaders. And being young, not knowing much about the military, not knowing how to stand up for yourself, because I got in trouble a lot because I spoke my mind, and then next thing you know, I'll be on the detail out in the desert, doing something that no one else do. They really, they messed with my mind psychologically. I didn't trust my leaders anymore. So I dealt with a lot of internal pain and emotional pain and conflict. So I just kind of did my time. Also, we had issues of the Gulf War illness. I don't know if many people know about that. It's kind of like the same thing as the Vietnam veterans, the Agent Orange issue, where we were exposed to toxins and chemicals. We had sarin gas, depleted uranium. They shot us up with the anthrax vaccine we didn't know about. It was horrible. You talking about flies. It was disgusting over there, the pesticides. It was really a shocking experience, and it really was an experience where I think most of the people that I served with, I have a lot of friends, and we were all inflicted with these toxic chemicals in our bodies, and we had even these called TB pills, these white pills. They told us, they forced us to take, and they told us that they would prevent us, quote unquote, with if we were exposed to toxic chemicals, and so we had to take these pills. But we didn't find out till 20 years later that all this stuff basically damaged our cells and our DNA system. And most of us had, neurological disorders similar to PTSD symptoms, breakout in our skin. Some of them, my friends, are deceased. Some of them have major diseases like MS and things like that.